with that, thank you, Lisa. So I think, this will be a really exciting way to kick off this morning's event. We're going to have some thought leadership here from a lot of folks here from our vendor partners. So I'm really looking forward to this session. I'll be kind of monitoring the session here and asking some questions to kind of kickstart the conversation. But I think it'll be some really good insight from, again, some great thought leadership across multiple vendors that we partner with here at eCapital. And we also have Lisa David on the panel, so one of our own. So really excited to have Lisa share her thoughts on how the trends in analytics are really changing the way we bring value to our customers. So with that, I'm going to go through and just have us kind of introduce ourselves here real quick. Lisa, do you want to just start us off, kind of reintroduce for those who maybe joined a little bit late here, and then we'll kind of go down the line?
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Again, my name is Lisa David. I'm a partner and one of the 3 owners of eCapital Advisors. My role is really to, help bring our customers up on what's available to them, demystify how these solutions can really add business value, and help them empower their business teams in their organizations. So really love the industry. I love how the industry changes all the time, and the innovation. And there's some great partners with us on the panel today. So looking forward to the discussion.
Great. And not to put you on the spot here, Lisa, but we'll have a little bit of fun here too. So along with kind of your name, your role in your company, when the whole pandemic thing kind of settles down, what would be the first sporting event or conference that you're looking forward to attending?
Well, this is a fun one for me, and you know me well. It's a definite tiebreaker between I will be in Iowa City at Kenning Stadium, an Iowa Hawkeye football game, or I'll be at a Luke Combs concert, hopefully in the summer. So it's country music or college football for me.
That's great. Well, thank you for sharing. Matthew, do you want to maybe go next?
Yeah, I'm Matthew Halliday. I'm a co-founder and EVP of Product Strategy at Encoda. And I've been we've been around for 7 years. And so prior to that, I was at Oracle and at Microsoft working on analytics solutions. And sporting event, well, music, I think for me, it would either be a San Jose Earthquakes soccer game, or maybe just to hear some live music would be pretty fantastic. But if it was to pick one, I might have to go out there and say something like a K-pop band like BTS or Blackpink.
I like it. Good deal. Andrew, do you want to maybe go next?
Sure. Can you see me and hear me okay?
Lighting's a little
I can hear you loud and clear and see you as well.
Lighting's a little dark, sorry. Yep, Andrew Nastri, I'm with Automation Anywhere, based in Dallas. I'm in sales leadership on the channel side of our company. So I manage a subset of our community in North America, obviously including eCapital Advisors. I think if we jump to the question about what I would like to, first thing I would do after the pandemic is really along the lines of what Lisa said. I'm a live music buff, and so I'm missing the shows, the concerts, whether a intimate, smaller venue or the big arena shows. At this point, I'm not a beggars can't be choosers in my Longhorn football games. But I will say I can't believe it, but I missed the big events like IBM. I was at IBM for 8 years, and I missed those big conferences and getting to actually talk to clients and partners. So that's also a piece I miss.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Andrew. And speaking of IBM, Carrie, you want to go next?
Yes, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carrie Olson. I'm the Director of Product Management for Cognos and Planning Analytics at IBM. I'm a longtime IBMer. I've been with IBM for just about 20 years. I'll be coming up on 20 years in August. And I live in Minnesota. So in terms of things I'm looking forward to, I would love to see a Minnesota Twins game this summer. And also, once we finally get some good weather, be able to get out for some outdoor live music would be fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, a little chilly this week in Minnesota. I'm right there with you here, Carrie. So I'm looking forward to some warmer weather. Well, why don't we get kind of kicked off with the fun questions here. So, obviously we've all been, engaged with the analytics space for a long time here. And there's been a lot of change, as Lisa mentioned, to kind of kick things off here over the last few years. I guess I'll just kind of kick off the questions here with, how do you guys feel like the space has really changed dramatically over the last 5 years, and what are some of the things you're seeing there? And feel free to jump in, kind of ad hoc here.
Yeah, I can take a stab at this to start, Ryan. I would say 10 years ago, the primary focus in this space was really around reporting capabilities and other enterprise capabilities like security and governance. Beyond 10 years ago, in the last 5 years or so, we really had a shift to self-service and data exploration with dashboarding. And 5 years ago, I would say we were in the early stages of that. And now that has become really a mainstream for us. But we see the pendulum shifting back to reporting as a key capability, which organizations are continuing to use to govern their business. And I think as you look at kind of where we're going in the future, we are now looking at data science and machine learning as key capabilities in the analytics space, not only allowing users to utilize data, but make sure they're getting the access to the highest quality data and making sure that they are able to put that data to work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a huge trend that we're seeing as well. Anyone else want to chime in on just kind of how you guys have seen, the space really change over the last 5 years or so?
Yeah, I'll jump in on this one too. So I think there's obviously been a number of things that have changed. One of them has been definitely a move towards the cloud. When I think back at when we started out in Quarter, we originally went out and we spoke to people about being in the cloud, and there was a lot of resistance at that time. And so a lot of our customers said, we really want to be on premises. And so we supported them in that. But even those customers over the last year and a half to 2 years have definitely started moving in their mindsets and moving towards that. And there's a lot more trust now, improving out the security and the benefits of a cloud architecture for them. So we've definitely seen that as well as one piece. I'd also agree that there's definitely been a shift towards more engagement for the business to be able to do self-service, to be able to do dashboard reporting, to be able to do data discovery. Often people don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they should be looking at. And they want that flexibility to be able to get in and start building out things very rapidly. And it's not so much of, here's the pre-list can of reports that I know I'm going to need, and this is how I want to measure and run my business for the next 3 to 5 years. It's like, I don't know. And if anything, 2020 showed us that all those metrics changed on a dime, and everyone wanted to try and look at their business in different ways. And those who didn't have that flexibility were kind of caught out at that point.
Yeah, and I think, I get the benefit of working with all of the technology that's represented today, but I think that an interesting thing I've seen, and first of all, in the last 5 years, is like the word automation was like barely talked about 5 years ago, especially at the business or finance or business executive level. Now it's being talked about every day. And then, taking from Carrie's, like what we're doing with a legacy system, planning system, reporting system, and then enhancing it, Matthew, with like the analytics engine that Incorta brings, where I can get that sub-ledger insight. I can get that drill down to the SKU location day information, because that is driving like promotion, marketing decisions. Where's inventory located? I mean, there's such a transformation going on in some of our industries that really require this level of insight, so that I have the right supply chain, I have the right inventory in the right spot. And I'm sure we'll get into more of that conversation, but I get the benefit of actually putting all of these pieces together and helping our customers really architect this out. And I think that's what's driving the conversation, is like, I need both. I need this type of planning and reporting system, but I need this granular SKU location day information to do some things like the data science, add the machine forecasting finally to business. So that, I mean, holistically, I get to work with all of you. So it's fun from my perspective.
Yeah, thanks for sharing the insights there. And that brings up an interesting topic around just different industries and verticals. What are you guys' thoughts on, are you spending a lot of time in specific industries that you're seeing maybe to lean in a little bit more and really prefer to kind of invest in analytics? Seeing any trends there?
I'd say we're seeing a few. Ryan. Right now, with the COVID-19 pandemic that we have all been affected by, we're certainly seeing a lot of movement in the healthcare space. In recent times, we've seen a lot of work around vendors building dashboards and machine learning models to track the spread and the containment of the virus, as well as tracking the availability and the rollout of the vaccinations. Other critical use cases at this time are around supply chain and distribution. You know, with most of our purchasing and buying moving to digital or online, customer expectations are reaching a point of next day delivery on pretty much anything. I mean, that's become the norm. So managing chain events from the order processing all the way through home delivery to the end client is quite a fascinating thing to think about. And we're seeing a lot of work going on in that space.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we've seen on the capital side definitely an uptick on the supply chain manufacturing side. Anything different from that, from how we're seeing, you know, in core to interact with customers and or automation anywhere?
Yeah, I think hopefully I heard there was a comment. Hopefully my microphone's is the volume better?
Yep.
Hopefully. Okay.
I can hear you okay. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I saw that we had a comment that someone said my volume is a little low. So let me know if that's not any better. I'll see if I can fix it. I think what we've been seeing working with our customers is, you know, definitely to echo Carrie's point that the supply chain has had a big hit, right? There's a lot of disruption that's taken place. I mean, we saw that the year before with some of the China tariffs and some of the, you know, not the same scale, obviously, but there's always been these challenges that come out from external factors and forces. And so for our customers, definitely seeing that, the need to have the products. And I think the real focus has been, you know, what are the key products that people need to get in for like their brands. So in many cases, it's been refining their SKUs that they might have available to be able to say, you know, the things that you expect our store to have, like, or our product to carry, those are the things that, you know, we need to make sure we have those in supply. And then sometimes it's really being able to look at the profitability of what those things are to be able to understand what are the things that really, if you can only have 5 things in the store, what are you going to really focus on? What are you going to get there? And what are in those locations? So we've seen definitely a lot around that as well. I think the other part is just definitely this big push towards doing a lot more with AI, machine learning. I think that's been a key area for us to see just not people who necessarily had data scientists roles, but beginning to move from the way that they think about the data, the way that they think about working with their data, and what they can do and achieve with things like PySpark and machine learning libraries and ML to be able to predict collections and to predict, you know, cash flow. At this point, you know, cash flow and cash cycle scores are very important things for to be able to have a key kind of keeping your finger on the pulse. And so that's been an area I definitely think that we've been able to see some interesting innovation and customers doing some really exciting things. I always love just to hear the stories about what customers done that surprised me. You know, it's like, it's not we're going out and telling everyone what to do, but, you know, once you give customers a platform where they can get into the data and they can actually do something exciting and interesting with it, they start to view it in really creative ways and come up with really imaginative new solutions. So that's been definitely something we've seen a lot more interest in as well.
Yeah, and Ryan, if I may jump in, I represent Automation Anywhere, an RPA vendor, and I think if I look at my own experience, I've been here 2.5 years, and we do have an analytics tool embedded in our platform called Bot Insights. But when I first got here, to me it was almost more of an afterthought, and I think my experience has shown me how critical that piece of the platform has become. You know, we break it into 2 pieces: our operational insights, looking at the bots, how they're running, how they could be more efficient, but also the business insight into the data and as it's flowing through a process. And as we go out and talk to clients and we run proof of concepts, it's very it's important. You know, the clients want to see insights and talk about that piece of the platform, as opposed to our bread and butter, the process automation.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting.
Absolutely.
Andrew, I think it's interesting, Andrew, as well, from your automation concept, is the fact that I see it also spreading across companies' departments. So we start working with one department, and then they're like, oh, we're really behind in treasury automation. Oh, by the way, please, the internal audit wants to talk to you now. So it's like it's also spreading across like the operational segments of a company. I see automation really taking off. You know, on the industries, we have some that, even though, like, you know, we have companies in CPG or grocery or something where their e-commerce world, like, they basically had 3 years happen overnight on what they thought their journey would be. So it's like that amount of data to show, to Matt's point, the low inventory, where's it at, and the supply optimization of the supply chain. Another industry that I think is going through massive transformation is going to be retail, and continue to be, with this trend to B2C. And like, to your point, Carrie, getting next day delivery, but then that brings on added costs, shipping costs. Am I shipping from the right place? So it's like that optimization of that business model is going to have massive change, I think, as far as people leaning into needing the analytics, Ryan, because the operating model has changed so much.
Absolutely, yeah. And we do have a question from the audience that I think is just relevant to the discussion here. So I'll just throw that out there quick to the group. So the question is really around why do you think there is kind of that return of that traditional reporting need? And do you feel like there's additional enhancements to that, like automated narrative reporting, or just kind of talk about some of those trends? Carrie, I think that was kind of sparked by some of your discussion points as well.
Sure. I did mention that we are seeing that pendulum swing back to reporting. And I do think that it has to do with automated narratives. It has to do with the infusion of AI, the fact that, you know, we're just able to do things in a smarter way. As you think about reporting, I mean, it's something that businesses have used to run the enterprise for a very long time. And I think these self-service capabilities have become very important. But when it comes to the high-level enterprise operations, reporting is playing a big role. And the advances there with the automated narratives, the infusion of AI, the what-if scenarios, I think are making it more reliable for clients as they're running their operations.
Gotcha. Thanks for elaborating on that. I think that's helpful. So I know we've obviously seen a lot of negative impact with the COVID pandemic in 2020 and beyond. But I'm always curious to kind of try to create a little bit of a positive spin too. Are there certain aspects that you think have driven positive value that you've seen, working with the customers that you engage with and your overall client base?
I definitely have. I feel like what happened, that I think is good, and for all of us who like technology and like solutions, I've seen the release of the resistance to change, to new innovation, because basically we blew up corporate America and everybody went. So it's like, instead of saying, oh, we'll get to that 2 years, 3 years from now, it's like the good positive is we kind of like massively released the resistance to like change, to learn about new innovations. So I think that's going to be very helpful. But it really, I think it would have been a lot slower if we didn't have, again, something very negative happen with the pandemic.
Lisa, I completely agree with you. I'm definitely seeing the same thing. And if you talk to your clients and others in the industry, you hear that everyone has a modernization plan and everybody's looking to move forward and adopt data science, machine learning, AI, but there's a plan. And I think those plans have come closer in, where it might have been a 5 or 10 year plan. Now it's a 2 to 3 year plan. And I do think it's really given us a license to think about how we can better run our businesses and put some urgency behind it.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I think
well, just a comment too, Carrie, everything you read on like spending levels, data, I mean, is like, finally, and executives are saying that, at high percentages that they're going to invest in digital transformation. I think it was a little more lip service, to your point, like 2-3 years ago. And now it's like becoming like, okay, we're really going to do this.
Matthew, you were going to chime in there as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I kind of kind of describe it as ruthless prioritization, where there was a lot of things that were on the plate or the view, and it became like really what is important and what really brings value. I think there was a lot of projects that were kind of, yeah, it'd be cool to do this, but now it just became really focused on ROI, really focused on total, economic impact of what you're trying to achieve. And those became the drivers, those became the motivators. And projects have to show their value when you really kind of feel like, okay, we can only do so much. We only have a certain amount of time. We only have a certain amount of money. What are the projects that are really going to be, critical to our business? And a lot of the fluff, I would say, just kind of went to the sides, and people realized that the business is needing more and more insight. They want to understand what's going on. They would need the analytics. They need to be able to see exactly how they're doing, and not to be able to, to see that as a scorecard approach where they say, hey, here's how you did on the last month. And then either you get a thumbs up or a thumbs down. They want to be able to course correct as they're going. They want to be able to adjust, and not just on given metrics, but they want to be able to see exactly, explore like, what are the other things that maybe we can leverage at this time? What are those other things that we can kind of tip the needle and make some change? And that's, I think, been exciting to see those kind of that positive way that people have really kind of energized or engaged with the data in new ways that maybe they weren't before. And maybe they didn't even see the value before, because their business models kind of have evolved over time, and they kind of got into a place just by gut feel. And then all of a sudden, everything is not working. And you have to kind of figure out, well, what is going on? And the data became kind of your best friend then. But at the same time, the existing data was kind of, how relevant was it? So it became like you're creating new sets of data, because you have to start looking at, a new world almost. And just all the buying patterns had changed, everything had changed. And so there definitely was just some ongoing interest in how to adapt and change to that.
Yeah, and if I just may add, just from an automation perspective, if I look back, I think we're right at a year when we went into lockdown and the COVID started happening. I think like everyone, I was a little uncertain what that would mean. And then as, we got into it, I saw, some budgets, some clients, some projects being delayed or put off a year, but there were definitely certain industries like healthcare, banking, financial services, state governments, where automation is just a given, scheduling doctors, first line workers, hospital rooms, in government, a lot of unemployment filing, PPP loans in the banks. There was just so much opportunity. And a lot of that is simply data movement, which automation is good at. A lot of that mundane, repetitive tasks that humans were doing, speeding it up with accuracy is it's a simple fix.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Andrew, I'm curious from your perspective, with some of the workforce priorities, changing, whether it's mid-market or larger enterprise, right? I think a lot of organizations have really started to evaluate, does it make sense to, really push an initiative to get back to the office space, or is it going to be more of a remote, kind of virtual experience moving forward? Have you seen that, kind of get more of a lean-in effect on the RPA side as well because of some of those factors?
Yeah, I think just what you stated, I think our new reality is most folks, I can't say most, but a good segment of the population may not be going back to the office anytime soon. And that opens up plenty of chances for automation as well.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think that
another question for
just on Andrew's point. I think
go ahead, Lisa. Sorry.
No, just on the automation side, I also see like the trend where, just like Carrie, you said, people were talking about digital transformation for the next 5 to 10 years type of roadmap. I see the manual. Everybody knew they had manual processes, Andrew, and stuff like that. But it's like, we've been doing this process the same way for 20 years. Why are we going to change it now? But I think once we've made everybody go, change, I think it's also going to, like, the automation too allows the workforce, Andrew, to be anywhere. And I mean, that's something that's very different too. Like, you don't have to be all in one office building to probably get the processes done. So just a huge transformation there.
Absolutely.
Sure. And have you seen, those on the panel here, have you seen it been easier to get in front of kind of the customer base and provide educational, sessions and really kind of start the sales cycle faster, I guess, in the analytics space?
Yeah, I definitely think that there was a period of time where I think everything kind of people put everything on pause, right, for about 6 to 8 weeks, and then people started to realize, okay, this is going to probably go on a little longer, and we can't just wait for this to be over and hope for the best. And so I definitely saw people beginning to look at different ways to learn. I think one of the most practical ways that we've seen people wanting to understand data or how they evaluate products is to really just experience them for themselves and to be able to just get on them and to start to see value really quickly. So a lot of proof of concepts that are time bound to just a few days, not let's do some protracted, long, drawn out experience. It's been let's just get a sense of what this product does and see if it can prove value. And that's one of the things I've been super excited to see with Encoder is just the number of customers who've come in and just said, wow, after one day, I was won over. Like I realized that this is what was missing. This is what I really needed in my organization. And it wasn't something that was like a promise and you have to kind of leap of faith, sign a big fat check, and maybe in 6 months you'll get something of value. It's like before you even sign that check, you already know what you're getting. It's kind of been an exciting thing. So a lot of that kind of just engaging and having a real world experience on these software solutions.
Matthew, I agree with
great insight.
I agree with everything that Matthew said. We're definitely seeing the same thing. There was a short term, everybody put everything on pause. But when we realized that, we're in this for a long haul, we did really have to find new ways of interacting, new ways of working, new ways of selling and buying. And we are seeing that, experience type buying as well. And, I will tell you that I think that this is another thing that's changing for the better going into the future. We're creating a new normal. We're never going to go back to exactly how we were before. And some of that is goodness, right? I think we're working more effectively, working more efficiently, doing a better job of running those POCs and trials and kind of mainstreaming that experience. So there's a lot of goodness that comes out of this. And I think we are creating a new norm. Now, I look forward to the day where I can get on an airplane and sit face to face with a client or a partner. I look forward to doing that again for sure. But I don't think it will be the same as it was in the past.
I think that's great insight. Yeah. And I think we do actually have a couple more questions here on the Q&A panel. So I'll throw those out there to the group as well. I really like this question. So also this comes from a Hawkeyes fan. So go Hawkeyes here, Lisa, in the notes. But there has been a trend, right, for kind of larger software vendors to start to acquire or buy up some smaller vendors. You look at like Salesforce with Tableau, for example. Do you see this as like a normal trend, or is it kind of uncertain moving forward? And where do you think that innovation from a startup perspective will continue to thrive and really come from moving forward?
Yeah, I actually think that this is definitely, I think, going to continue. And the way that I describe what's happening is we had an ecosystem that was a lot of disparate products. It was up to pretty much the customers to be able to go out and purchase their ETL tools, their databases, their visualizations, and then metadata layers, all of this semantic layers, all these products they'd have to then figure out which is the best of breed, which stitch together. And I think what we're seeing is as people want to have solutions and experiences, they're gravitating towards more of a unified data analytics platform approach. And I think some of the vendors who don't have that are trying to buy up companies that can help provide that experience and bring those together. So I think we're going to see more of it. I think we've started to see a collapse of visualization and database with things like Google BigQuery and Looker coming together, and then on other sides we're starting to see that the data ingestion and data science pieces come together. I think ultimately we're going to see that keep going forward. You see products like Microsoft Synapse entering the market where they're trying to have that complete end-to-end flow. That's something we've been really doing from day one at Encoder. 7 years ago we started down this journey of a unified data analytics platform where we bring all of those together. So I think that is going to be the experience moving forward. We're going to see more of that as people really don't want to be, I would say, experts in tools. Like when we look at analytics so much today, people in their resumes will list all of the tool sets they have expertise in. And one of the things I think the big mistake there is they don't list the business outcomes that they were able to achieve with analytics. And I'm like, when will analytics business intelligence people start saying, here's what I did, and here's what the benefits, and here was the ROI to business. I was able to do, this measure by this amount, for example, versus just, hey, I'm an expert in, these tool sets, and just kind of always being obsessed with the technology rather than what you can do with it.
Yeah, that's really good insight. Thank you for sharing that, Matthew. Any other thoughts on kind of that process of, disparate, technologies potentially merging together?
I agree that we'll continue to see these merge and come together. I think that it's a trend that's here to stay. And in terms of innovation, there was a follow-on question about where does the innovation come from if these startups are getting consolidated into the major players. And my commentary there is that the major players are innovating, and the innovators that are coming from the startups are not going away. They're becoming part of larger organizations. They're continuing to innovate. And, the market demands are going to drive that innovation as well. I think we'll continue to see those demands coming from the market, coming from the clients, coming from various industries. And, there are people who really do want to innovate to drive those business outcomes.
That's great perspective. Yeah, thank you for sharing that too here, Carrie. I actually have another question on the panel here. I'll go ahead and throw it here. So the question is, we are beginning our BI journey with eCapital next month. So first of all, thank you for your business. Looking forward to partnering with you. BI is new to our organization. What are some things our organization or other organizations can do to kind of prep for this mindset / cultural shift that comes with the introduction to BI, especially if maybe you were used to more of kind of an Excel world, non kind of true analytics vision, if you will. Thoughts on that for the group?
Well, I can take a first stab, Ryan. I think a key area there, if you're beginning a journey, is just having some cross-functional, brainstorming sessions on your business model. What are the margin movers, as I call them? Where can I, if my goal is growth or profitability, where do I need more insight that I don't have? What's on the wish list? So you really get that perspective across the business, because I think the best analytics environment is one that's living and active and is very agile with your company. So it's like getting that conversation going before you even start on is there any data that if you could have would make your life easier, would make easier to partner with the business. So it's really starting to get that conversation, because I think it's that culture change of getting you out of here's what information I had before, but what if I could have this? What do I need, and what's on that list? So any of those conversations really, I think, help drive, because you don't want to look at just what your current state is. It's what does good look like if you could have it and there was no barriers? So that would be one of my suggestions before you kick off.
I love this question because what I've realized is that having great dashboards doesn't mean a company becomes data-driven magically overnight. And everyone talks about being data-driven, and I think there's somewhat some self-examination that people need to do. I see that you're one of these categories, and I'll leave it up to you to put which one you're in. So the first one is people look at data and they just trust their gut. Whenever they see data, it's like, yeah, whatever. I know this business. I've been around. I don't care what the data says. I'm just going to make my decisions. Then there's people who say they're data-driven, and they really just look for data that backs up what they've already decided. So they use it not as to be data-driven, they just use it to drive other people with their initiatives or their agendas. Then there's people who say they'll have these opinions, and then they'll use the analytics and data to really check, is that resonating, or is there something I'm not seeing? What am I not seeing? Help me see what I'm not seeing. And that's a great, healthy place to be. And when they see data, it might not be they just blindly believe it, but they will say, I need to investigate this further. I need to drill down. Maybe there's something I missed. Then there's some people, and it gets, as you go back onto this side of the spectrum, it gets a little more dangerous again. You got some people who just blindly believe every piece of data that's put in front of them. So their opinion will always just be governed by what data they see. And that can lead to mistakes as well. So I think the sweet spot is to see, do you use data as a way for you to be able to understand, to help you see what am I not seeing, not trying, helping it form your opinions, thinking of it more of a conversation versus just, oh, I'm blindly believing it. And so really looking at your own, how you're going to see, how is data going to help you? Because all too often people put up a dashboard and some people look at it, some people don't. And then really, the decisions don't change. And then looking back, you need to start measuring it. One of the fallacies, I think, is that we put out analytics and sometimes it's like, do they even change anything? Sure, it might be cool that you see it, but can you measure the material impact? And so it's a kind of an ironic solution where we build analytics, but how often do we have analytics on our analytics? How often do we look at looking at the business of analytics? Are we actually meeting our objectives, and how's that being done? I think one of the things is, hold the analytics accountable. I tell all our customers is like, don't just do it to say you've done it, but do it and tell me, why is this changing your business? Why is this valuable? And can you prove it? And so there's a lot of exciting ways you can do that. But definitely having that kind of mindset really kind of just changes how an organization can see it and how they'll view analytics in general.
Couldn't agree more.
I love that, Matthew. Hold your analytics accountable. I think that's a great way to put that. I'm going to steal that from you. I wrote that down as a note for myself. So better trademark that pretty quick here.
Well, it's not bad because it's not even sunrise here in California. So I'm pretty happy with that. I was able to do something. My brain's kind of working.
Yeah, and I know, just a quick time check here, and I really appreciate everyone's engagement and involvement. I think it's a great way to kind of kick off our Elevate conference here today. I do want to kind of keep us moving to the next agenda item. So at this time, anything else that anyone on the panel would like to share or ask anyone else on the panel? Okay, I think we did a great job of kind of covering and kicking things off. So again, really appreciate everyone's engagement here. We're going to give Matthew a quick break here as he kind of does a segue into his next presentation, where he's going to do a little bit of a deep dive into some of the industry trends and analytics, and also kind of focus on how that return on investment angle is kind of changing with the companies that we work with. And as Matthew had mentioned, definitely a little bit earlier on the West Coast right now. So appreciate your time here today, Matthew. So we'll give Matthew a few minutes here to get started. And I'll just say, I've had an opportunity to work with Matthew in a variety of capacities here. We